Hello, everyone. Hello. How are you? This is Kristen Codes. I am coding every day until I become a web developer. And sorry if you're about to hear a lot of noise. It's going to be okay. Okay. And I am here having a great day. Um, Very insightful day. So I want to start this off by saying, well, I did finish the guess the number thing for it's a little project. Let me refresh the page. Uh I think this is working. Yeah. Okay, so essentially if I guess the right number between 1 and 20, let's try to guess it. 8, 16, 12, 3. Oh no, 2, 1. Oh man, what number haven't I chose? 7, 9, 14. 14, yay. Yay. And when it's then when I press again, it should it keeps the high score, but then it resets the score. So that's that. That was some DOM manipulation. I already knew how to do all this. I just wanted to do what I was supposed to do and work through that other course. So now we're gonna start on the Odin Project. The Odin Project. Odin Practice. I think that was where we were. Okay. I think we had it like this the other day. I think it was like right here. Right here. By the way, I want to thank all the people who saw me. I was in the Odin Project Discord, and there were a lot of nice people there who said that they saw me from YouTube, which made me feel really good. Thank you. I appreciate that. And somebody commented to make sure that I don't use AI. I hate using AI for anything other than word problems. So this is an AI free zone unless we're looking for guidance or word problems. And I'm trying to not use it for guidance as much, and I'm trying to find somebody who knows, who's in the field, who knows things, so I can learn better, learn more. We left off on this section is called, excuse me y'all, it's called a recommended method for prototypal inheritance. So let's get into it. All right, let's make this a little bit smaller, make this a little bit bigger. Actually, we can do one of these maneuvers. Let's see. Boop, 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 and a boop. Okay. Recommended method for prototypal inheritance. Now, how do you utilize prototypal inheritance? What do you need to do to use it? Just as we use object.prototype of to get or view the prototype of an object, we can use object.setPrototype of to set or mutate it. Let's see how it works by adding a person object constructor to the player example and making player inherent from person. Okay. So we have a function called, it's a constructor. You enter a name and it gives the key of name, the value of name in the parameter argument. Then we say person.prototype.sayName equals function, equals say, it's going to be a say name function. We're adding it to the prototype. Okay. Then we create a function. We create another constructor of player, which takes a name and a marker. Then we do player dot prototype dot get marker. So we're adding a function to the prototype, which is a function to the player. And then we do object dot get prototype of player dot prototype returns object dot prototype. Okay. Now make player objects inherit from person. Object. Okay, so this answers my question in the other thing. Object dot set prototype of player dot prototype. Hold up. Now make player objects inherit from person. Object dot set prototype of player dot prototype person dot prototype. So we enter the object we want to inherit. We enter second. We want the player to inherit from person. Okay. From the code, we can see that we've defined a person from whom a player inherits properties and functions, and that the created player objects are able to access both the say name and the get marker functions in spite of them being defined on two separate prototype objects. This is enabled by the use of the object.setPrototypeOf function. It makes two arguments. The first is the one which inherits, and the second argument is the one which you want the first argument to inherit from. This ensures that the created player objects are able to access the dot say name and dot get marker functions through their prototype chain. Though it seems to be an easy way to set up prototype inheritance using object.setPrototypeOf, the prototype chain has to be set up using this function before creating any objects. Using setPrototypeOf after objects have already been created can result in performance issues. Because it will player.prototype equals person.prototype. Because it will set player.prototype to directly refer to person.prototype, i.e. not a copy, which could cause problems if you want to edit something in the future. Consider one more example. I won't lie, prototype inheritance is kind of confusing. Let's scroll up. Let's see some stuff. Because once they start talking about, once they enter prototype, hold on, let's see. Maybe let's look at this right quick. We create a constructor for person. We add a function to the person prototype. Huh. Oh, okay. 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 Let's see what this article is about. and it's not in dark mode. And guess what? We can force dark mode. Thank you, Opera GX. Okay. JavaScript is a prototype-based language, meaning object properties and methods can be shared through generalized objects that have the ability to be cloned and extended. This is known as prototypical inheritance and differs from class inheritance. Among popular object-oriented programming languages, JavaScript is relatively unique, as other prominent languages such as PHP, Python, and Java are class-based languages, which instead define classes as blueprints for prototypes, which I have done in C# before, and I prefer that. In this tutorial, we will learn what object prototypes are and how to use the constructor function to extend prototypes into new objects. We will also learn about inheritance and the prototype chain. JavaScript prototypes. In understanding objects in JavaScript, we went over the object data type, how to create an object, and how to access and modify object properties. Now we will learn how prototypes can be used to extend objects. Every object in JavaScript has an internal property called prototype. We can demonstrate this by creating a new empty object. This is the way we would normally create an object, but note that another way to accomplish this is with the object constructor. Let x equal new object. The double square brackets that enclose signify that this is an internal property and cannot be accessed directly in code. To find the prototype of this newly created object, we will use the getPrototypeOf method. So then we do object.getPrototype of x. The output will consist of several built-in properties and methods. Okay. So every object in JavaScript has an internal property called prototype. We can demonstrate this by creating a new object. We called getPropertyOf, and it returned. The output will consist of several built-in properties and methods. Another way to find the prototype is through the proto property. Proto is a property that exposes the internal prototype of an object. It is important to note that .proto is a legacy feature and should not be used in production code, and it is not present in every modern browser. However, we can use it throughout this article for demonstrative purposes. X.proto, the output will be the same as if you use getPrototypeOf. Okay, so we know that when we create an object, there's going to be a property called prototype. It is important that every object in JavaScript has a prototype it is important that every object in JavaScript has a prototype, as it creates a way for any two or more objects to be linked. Okay. So the prototype that all of them have kind of links them. Objects that you create have a prototype. So do built-in objects that you create have a prototype, as do built-in objects such as date and array. A reference can be made to this internal property from one object to another via the prototype property, as we will see later in this tutorial. Okay, that's interesting. Prototype inheritance. When you attempt to access a property or method of an object, JavaScript will first search on the object itself. When you attempt to access a property or method of an object, JavaScript will first search on the object itself. And if it is not found, it will search the object's prototype. If after consulting both the object and its prototype, still no match is found, JavaScript will check the prototype of the linked object. Okay, so we check the object itself, then we check the object's prototype, then we check a linked object and continue searching until the end of the prototype chain is reached. Okay, so that's the prototype chain. The prototype chain is the object's prototype, and then any linked prototype, and so on and so forth. Or linked object, sorry. At the end of the prototype chain is object.prototype. All objects inherit the properties and methods of object. Any attempt to search beyond the end of the chain will result in null. In our example, X is an empty object that inherits from object. X can use any property or method that object has, such as toString. X can use any property or method that object has, such as toString. Okay, so every object inherits from this main object. Okay, so we do X dot toString, we get object. Okay. This prototype chain is only one link along X to object. We know this because if we try to chain two prototype properties together, it will be null. Also, okay, because once you hit, okay, I get that. Okay, because let's say if it was X and X inherited from, why don't we try that? Why don't we just go ahead and write this out? All right. Do some little coding stuffs. Okay. So that was Odin part 1. Actually, let's do it like this. Odin part 1, and this is going to be, put a little thing right there, put this right there, make it look all jazzy and stuff, and then we're gonna copy this, put this right here, so we create kind of a living document. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create an object. We're gonna say, yeah, we're just gonna say const X equal an empty object, and then I think what we do is we say, do we do const Y equal an empty object, and then we say, let's say we write a function called say this, and say this will console.log you inherit from Y, and then we'll have const X equal, and we'll say that, and we'll say function CLG, oh, Z, my bad, Z, you inherit from Z. And then let's say something function I'm the baby. Okay, so I guess what we do is we say, let's make const X, I wonder does the order matter? So if I say const X will inherit from const Y, and then const Y inherits from Z, does the order matter? Well, we're gonna find out. Okay, so we're gonna say, what was the function? Let me see. It was object.set prototype of. Okay. So then we say object.set prototype of, and we want the child, then the parent. That's how I'm going to remember that. We put the child, then the parent. So the child X is going to inherit from Y. And is that how we write that? Nope. We do, oops. Oh, where am I? I'm lost. Oh, I'm right here. X dot prototype, Y dot prototype. Okay, I hope that's working. or what they meant was that I had to do something like this first. So what if I, okay, I'm getting confused with all these things. Let's just do this, do that, move this over here, move this over here. Okay. So I wonder, did they mean that to set up the prototype chain, I have to do something like this? So I would do x dot prototype dot say something equals bam. Oh, wrong. Equals function I'm the baby. So can I then do x dot? Yeah, it comes up. But then if I try to do y dot, okay, it comes up too. Okay, maybe, huh? It's okay. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. Y dot prototype. And let's just go live with this. Inspect the element, console, undefined setting, X. Hold on, maybe I did it wrong. All right, let's see. Hold on, I can't say equals. It looks right. Oh, hold on. I think it's because I didn't function x equal. Okay, I already forgot that. I should have reviewed the code I did yesterday. Okay, so let's just create a name. And then this dot name equals name. All right, that should work, right? Okay, let's see what the problem is. Object prototype may only be an object or null. Undefined at object I set type. Because I didn't create the object. So then can I say const xx equals x. Hold on, how did I do it up here? See, I forgot everything I did yesterday. Okay, so I just do it, okay, equal new x Chris. Bro, I am so confused. All right, let's see. Let's erase this. Let's erase this. Let's go back. Oh, this doesn't work. Did I define a function up here inside of it? Okay. Okay. Got it. Got it. Understand it. I'm gonna have to do some word problems with constructors so I can get it built into me. Okay. So then we have, what is this? What is going on? What the hell? What did I do wrong? Okay, this dot age equal age, and then we say this dot say name equals function CLG say name. My name is X or Y. Okay, that looks right. I bet I just forgot something. Okay, so now what can we say? Oh my goodness, proto. I forgot a T. You see, it's stuff like that. It's stuff like that, man. And then can I do CLG? Okay, so we let X inherit from Y, right? But now I want to know if I could have did it the other way. If I could have just created the objects. Okay, well then let's just create more objects. Let's just say const. No, hold up, const A equals, and then we're gonna say const B equals, and then we're gonna say object dot set prototype of A dot prototype and B dot prototype. Oh, so when you create the constructor, it creates the prototype. There we go. All right, there we go. Now we're tracking. So if I wanted to compare these two, I think it was object dot, is it get prototype of? Let me see. Okay, well, okay. Let me just CLG this, and then we're gonna say object dot get prototype of, and then I think we put X put X dot prototype. Oh, okay, so here we go. It's right here. It's Y. So it inherits from Y. And then I'm assuming we can then do function Z we're gonna just put city, and we're gonna say this dot city equals city. All right, and then we're gonna say object dot set property of, and we want Y to inherit from Z. So what happens if I do that? What? So okay, so if I did X dot prototype dot prototype undefined. Oh, okay. So if I did Z, hold on, whoa. But Y has a prototype, right? So if I did X dot prototype dot prototype, but I thought it would be Z. So if I did Y dot prototype, it would be Z, right? Yeah. But if I did X, it would be Y. So okay. So that's what they mean. Why did it wrap this like this? I didn't know you could do that. Is that considered a function or something? What is that? That's weird. Anyway, just gonna ignore that for now. Okay, so that's what it meant when it said an object.get prototype of value can only be one unique prototype object. So if I said object.get prototype of, can I just put X in here? No. Hold on, let's see. Oh. Okay, so can I do, hold on, I can do X dot get property of? Well, duh, because it in here. So X dot get, oh, I can't do it. Can I do X dot prototype dot get set? You can set the property. Set a, okay. Set. Oh, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Object dot get prototype of X dot prototype, and we get Z. Huh. So if I do Y, and if I do Z, that's the base. So if I were to do Z dot prototype, I would get undefined or null. If I'm right. Is that undefined or null? Something like that. So let's see. Let's go back. Where was it where they linked two prototypes together? Okay, here we go. The prototype chain is only one link long. But in this situation, okay, saying dot prototype is different than saying, okay, hold on. So we get the prototype property. So then what does this prototype return? What it inherits from? The base inheritance? So then we can chain get, come on now, get, let me see. Okay, so if I do object dot get prototype of x dot prototype dot get prototype of can I do that? Huh. Would I have to do something like this? And that's the same thing as saying, yeah, okay. And this is the base. So what if I do, but if I do x dot, let me see. I did x dot proto is this right? Okay. It says I get native code. Let me see something. So if I do x dot proto, if I do x dot proto dot proto, okay, that makes sense. Because if I were to do function C, function C dot something equals something, and I was like C dot prototype C dot proto C dot proto dot proto. Why does it return this right here? What if I did C dot prototype? What about C dot prototype? Hold on, wait. Hold on, let me. So, okay, prototype inheritance. Let's just keep going. I'm getting lost in the sauce. Oh, and 42 minutes have already passed. That's crazy. This prototype chain is only one link long. We know this because if we try to chain two prototype properties together, it will be null. But when I just tried to do that, nothing happened. That's what I don't understand. Because I did function C. That's what I don't understand, man. Let me try this one more time. Do I have to link it again? Now it's null. Why I had to add 3 of them to get null? Anyway, moving right along, y'all. All right. Let's look at another type of object. If you have experiences working with arrays in JavaScript, you know they have many built-in methods, such as pop and push. The reason you have access to these methods when you create a new array is because any array you create has access to the properties. Hold on one second. Let me just try something. See, now I'm very confused. What? What? Hold on, wait a minute, man. Oh, okay. I don't think I'm thinking about this correctly. We're just working in theory right now, but I haven't actually like, for example, let David equal new X, and then we're gonna say COG David dot say something. My bad. Boop. There we go. I don't know why it did undefined right there. What? No, clear the console. Clear it. Alright. Where's that undefined coming from? Is it coming from this? It is. What can I do? That say name? Say name is not a function. See, I have no idea why it did all of that right there. What is the point of that? Why? Oh. That's weird. What if I say David dot age undefined? Huh. I wonder, can I say name Chris, age, let's say 20. And then can I say, no, that doesn't work either. How do I apply? Do I have to do why did I set? Hold on. Y dot prototype dot say nothing equals function COG nothing. So if I do David dot say nothing, oh, nothing. Okay, so that works. Likewise, I would have to do y dot prototype dot, let's say, state equals let's say it equals age. So then could I say David.age? Age is not defined. Could I say David.age equals 31? Nope. So does David not have an age property? Hold on, let's see something. Bro, we're done with age. Oh. Okay, Chris. All right. So then, let's see. Const player 1 equals new player Steve, comma X. I never see them do player 1 dot name. So it inherits functions, it doesn't inherit like properties. I guess we just gonna focus on the functions then. I guess that's just what it is. So then I could say uh, I could have said something like bubbles function, I don't know, blow bubbles. Oh, what don't you like? Oh, okay, yeah. And then we can do David dot bubbles. What? Why doesn't that work? But if I do say nothing, okay, I think I understand. I think it's prototypal inheritance, so it's different. Okay. So the reason it's able to say name, but it's not able to access name. Okay. All right. Got it. That was confusing. I understand this part, but what I don't understand, hold on. Could I then say, could I do something like y dot prototype dot age equal 50? And then can I do x dot age? Oh, oops. And it returns nothing. Oh, actually. Oh, okay. So we got to add it to the prototype. All right. Now we are tracking. All right. At least in that department. Let's look at another type of object. If you have experience working with arrays in JavaScript, you know they have many built-in methods such as pop, 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 pop. The reason you have access to these methods when you create a new array is because any array you create has access to the properties and methods on the array.prototype. We can test this by creating a new array. Let y equal empty array. Keep in mind that we could also write it as an array constructor. Let y equal new array. Okay. Let y equal new array. If we take a look at prototype of the new y array, we will see that it has more properties and methods than the x object. It has inherited everything from array.prototype. Okay. So let's do that. I'm gonna put that out. And we're gonna say let y equal an empty array. Not lay, but let. And then we're going to, and if I do, let's clear this. Please clear. Please clear. Okay. So then we do y dot, hold up, can we do object dot get prototype of y dot prototype? Okay, that didn't work. I guess we got to do y dot, no, we got to do okay, but they said, man, that's why I'm confused. So they said dot proto is the same as, okay, I see where I went wrong. Okay. Undefined. So is that the end of the chain? Okay, so anyway, moving along. So this would be the array, and this would be the object. Okay. Okay, so that makes sense. I need to leave that other idea alone. I don't know why they explained it like that, but it is messing me up, and I need to leave that idea of when they did x dot proto, it gave null. I still don't understand why that is. And maybe it's because, you know what, I'm gonna just try it again. Let x equal, and I think the reason that worked is because x dot object dot get prototype of x dot prototype undefined. Okay, so that's the end of the chain. You can't go past that. So that's what they meant when they said x dot proto gives you the object dot prototype. So if we did x dot underscore proto equal object dot prototype, we would get true. Okay, because it's referring to that. But if we did x dot, hold on, what is, if we do x dot prototype, it's undefined, because this is not a constructor. So if we did we created a constructor, we said function a, and then that's it, and then we said a dot prototype. Okay, so we get that prototype. But what if we did a dot, okay, so then if we said object dot get prototype of a, object dot get okay, let me think about this. That's weird that get prototype of a dot prototype, because a is not actually, I think I understand, because y and x are actually instantiated objects. One is an array, one is an object, regular object. And so when I do y, I can just do get prototype of y. So if I did object dot get prototype of y, it gives me that array. But then if I do dot prototype, it should give me, okay, it gives me undefined. Well, shouldn't the so we can't do array dot prototype? But if I do object, I get undefined. Hold on. Okay, these things give different things. I'm confused. I'm getting confused with the get property, get prototype of, proto, and how those things work together, I'm assuming. So because y and x are instantiated objects, when I do get prototype of y, it's the actual array because it's an array. Okay. Did I ever try array dot prototype dot prototype? That's undefined. Oh. Oh, okay, okay. Think I think I get it. So if it inherits, so if we have an object and it inherits from, if we have an object and it inherits from another object, then, so for example, if y were to inherit from x and we did get prototype of, let's say they were constructors and we said get prototype of, it would give me x. And we can do that right now. So function so now if we do, let's clear this. Let's clear that. So now if we were to do y.prototype, we should get x. Okay, and if we did x.prototype, we should get the object prototype. Right? I think. No. If we did, okay. Let me do this again. Object dot get prototype of y. Ooh. Oh, okay. Interesting. Okay. Oh, let me try that again. Okay, we get X. Okay, so again, Y is a constructor, not an object. So if I were to say, let let 1 equal new Y. And then I said object dot get property of Y. No. 1. I would get X. That makes sense. And if I did let 2 equal new X, I should get the object, the main base object. So if I did object dot, hold up, and I should not be able to do 1 dot prototype. So if I did 1 dot prototype, okay, that makes sense. Okay, but if I did 2, okay, if I did object dot get prototype of 2, I should get the main object dot prototype. No, I did not. I got X. Huh. Hold on. So if I do object.get prototype of X, it gives me native code. Okay. So let me get this straight. Let me get this in my mind. Y is a constructor. X. Let's move me over here. X is a constructor, right? And with these constructors, they automatically have prototypes on them, which are what they inherit from. It's what they inherit from. So let me see. If I did X dot prototype gives me the actual constructor. X dot prototype, which is this constructor, gives me the actual constructor, like its own constructor. But if I ask, and that's where I was confused, because when you get prototype of, it's like asking who's your parent. Saying X dot prototype is asking the constructor what its prototype actually looks like, or whatever. All of its, the constructor and all that stuff, all its properties and stuff. It even says prototype object right there. So hold on. If I did Y dot prototype, oh, okay. So X dot prototype, the constructor is X. But I can't do X dot prototype, right? X dot prototype dot prototype. Okay. Okay, I think that makes sense. Okay, I get it. That doesn't make any sense to say prototype. That's like saying name. Like, my name, if we create a person object, we named it Chris, and then we said Chris.name.name. That's what prototype.prototype is. Okay. Object.get prototype of is the actual parent. I'm just gonna call it a parent. What it inherits from. And right there, so can we do no, but we can do so then we can do oh, like if I did this and then I came over here and did this. Hold on, shouldn't one dot okay. Either way, um, prototype is like asking for its parent. One, the instantiated, which is an instantiation of Y, it's it inherits, which is the same as object.get prototype of, it inherits from Y. And two inherits from X. And if we do .proto, we should get the base object. But if we do .proto again, we should get undefined or null. There we go. That only took about an hour to understand, but we're here. It is understood. Okay, so the instantiation of the object, if I say .proto on an instantiated object, it will give me what that object inherits from. And so, for example, 1 inherits from Y. But if I did Y dot underscore proto, I should get the base object. So if I did Y dot no. Okay, no. Okay, hold on. Okay, because I did the same mistake again. Object.get prototype of Y makes no sense because it's a constructor that's basically like the prototype. So I would just do Y.prototype. But for 1, because it's an instantiation of Y, I can ask for the prototype. I think. It's giving me native code right there. I think I understand that. Yeah, it's just giving me native code. So if I just typed in Y, I would just Oh, oh, okay, all right. And if I just typed in X, I would get the same thing. But if I typed in 1, I would get Y. And if I typed in 2, I would get X. So what is, so I wouldn't do 2 dot prototype, would I? Because that there wouldn't be anything there. It's undefined. Okay, yeah. It doesn't have, yeah. Okay. Okay. But what I could do is a dot proto. And I think what I could do is object dot get prototype of, but I couldn't do the constructor. So if I did A, that wouldn't make any sense. But if I did I would get the prototype A. But then they said, now I can't do, because that would just return the code. Okay. But what I could do is 2 dot proto. But I couldn't do X. I could do X dot prototype, and that would give me the prototype. But could I do X dot prototype dot? No, I don't think I could do that. It's undefined. But could I do dot? Okay. That was intense. So what I've gathered, it would be so much easier if they just did it like, you know what? It doesn't matter. We're here. Okay, so let me try this again. So if I did X object dot get prototype of, and I tried to do Y, I probably wouldn't get anything, right? Just native code. Yeah, it's just native code. Yeah, that makes sense. It's itself. If I did object dot get prototype of Y dot prototype, we get the object itself. So if we did Y dot, hold on, interesting. These don't work the same. These don't work the same. And right here, X dot proto, but X is an actual instantiated object. That's where it differs. That's where I was confused. Let's see. So yeah, so if we did Y dot proto right here, move me over here. If we did y equals an empty array, keep in mind that we could also write it as an array constructor. Okay. If we take a look at prototype of the new y array, and the prototype objects that you create have a prototype, as do built-in objects such as they. So this is an object that we created. So the prototype of this X would be the base object, and the prototype of this newly created Y array would be the array prototype. And there we go. Okay. All right. We don't use get prototype of on an actual, I guess you would consider this a constructor, but also a prototype. I don't know. You will notice a constructor property. Hold on. You will notice a constructor property on the prototype that is set to array. We can chain two prototypes together now. Since our prototype chain is longer in this case, it looks like Y array object. And we get this. Okay. The chain is now referring to object.prototype. We can test it internally. So y.prototype, y is the instantiated array, and if we did .prototype, it'll give us the array.prototype. And if we did y.prototype, that's the array, and then the .prototype of the array is the object prototype. So if I did, so if I did array.prototype, no, if I did object.get prototype of array.prototype, then I get the object. Okay. Is prototype array.prototype is prototype of y. Okay. We can use instance of operator to test whether the prototype property of a constructor appears anywhere within an object's prototype chain. Y instance of operator array. So that's true because it's in the prototype chain. To summarize, all JavaScript objects have a hidden internal prototype property, which may be exposed through Proto in some browsers. Objects can be extended and will inherit the properties and methods on prototype of their constructor. These prototypes can be chained, and each additional object will inherit everything throughout the chain. The chain ends with the object.prototype. So again, we would not do y if we did y.prototype, we should get that constructor, right? But we would not do y.proto because that would be the same as object.get prototype of y, which would just give y itself. But we could do y.proto dot proto. All right. And we get the base object. But if we tagged another dot, or even if we did object dot get prototype of, oh my god, that scared the hell out of me. No. Okay. That makes sense. Anyway, I'm probably going to end it right here. This was crazy. This was a lot. I know more now, though. I know more about prototypes. And I think if I give it another day or two, I'll have it down packed. So I'm going to write some notes. I'm going to reread that article. And then tomorrow we're going to start on the project, the knowledge check. Well, there's a knowledge check. I'm going to do all that stuff. So I don't want to move on unless I understand. So anyway, I will talk to you guys later. If you like me, leave a comment. If you don't like me, make sure you're liked and subscribed. All right. Bye-bye.